Welcome to Booked, where two guys tell you about the books they're reading, and when they're not reading books, we apparently review Rob Zombie films. It's the only other film we've reviewed, right?
No, we did the fuckload of Scotch tape.
Oh,
Remember
that's
that? We
right.
did
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. The Julian Grant movie. We did do that too. But beyond that, it's just been
Just Rob Zombie.
just Rob
If we're
Zombie.
talking
So,
like Hollywood major releases, we've only really done Rob Zombie.
Rob and I went out to see 31, Rob Zombie's newest movie, which goes wide release 2 weeks from today, depending on when you're watching this. So what would that be? September 15th, 16th?
16th, yeah.
16th. So we picked up tickets. This was a Fathom event. It was my first ever Fathom event. Was it yours as well?
Yeah, I don't even really know what a Fathom event is, but we
Well,
didn't see any trailers or anything, and
sure we did. Do you not remember all the trailers we saw? We found out that Rob has no idea who Michael Bublé is.
oh yeah, yeah.
And then there
I
was
still don't know who that guy is.
what's the movie with David Bowie?
Labyrinth?
Labyrinth is going to be a Fathom event. But apparently they don't remaster anything because all like the classic movies they
Yeah.
showed just looked like garbage. Like they threw a VHS tape in and projecting it onto a big screen. So that's what a Fathom event is. I more have seen like previews for Fathom events during movies. It's like concerts, like one night only, the Rolling
Yeah.
Stones, and you can go sit in a theater and
Oh, and
watch.
the Snowden one was going to be the other big one for that movie that's coming out.
Right? Yeah. So they're doing the
Uh,
same thing. I think like a one night release before it goes wide. It's interesting though. I mean, I don't know how to say this. I'm a big believer in freedom and all that good stuff, but isn't it a little weird that like a fugitive of the United States can have like a movie like in a theater, and then there's gonna be like a Q&A like live with him from Moscow. I mean, it seems a little weird, right?
A little weird. Like you would think that there would be some sort of trouble with the government, whoever, which the company that's making that happen or making money off of it or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is why I'm not a politician or and I don't work in the government.
That's right. So seeing this was another first for me. So not just my first Fathom event, but holy shit, Rob, can you talk a little bit about the theater?
Yeah. So we saw this. I'm trying to think of the best way to describe this. So my theater going experience in the 37 plus years that I've been on this earth has been the really uncomfortable, like crappy foldy like stadium chairs that are, just really close together. Your traditional movie theater experience. We roll into this theater and it's like those thick cushioned leather like electronically reclining chairs that you're sitting in with the cup holders, and it's like assigned seating and everything, and it felt pretty fancy.
It was kind of weird because I felt down. I felt like I was laying down next to you and like nine strangers watching a movie.
Yeah,
Because I'm looking at the screen. If I look down a little bit, all I see is people's feet.
yeah, it's
Like all
all
the
feet.
way across. Yeah, it was a
Yeah,
little weird. So super comfy. If you haven't done it, it's totally worth doing. I didn't feel like my legs were falling asleep or anything. Even the armrests are a little roomier.
yeah,
And so you can actually like share an armrest, and you're not doing that weird thing where like you're all the way at the back and the other person's like in front of you, so you can both use the like really narrow wooden armrest. So overall, that was a great experience. Yeah.
yeah.
Now let's fast forward a little bit to the movie. So we saw some Fathom events previews, and then instead of being greeted with the movie itself, we were greeted not by one but two Rob Zombie videos.
Yeah, and I'm still trying to decide how I feel about this because it dives. So, like, at one point, it's like there's this weird guy whose name I don't remember who's like, enjoy the movie. And then immediately, it's like a Rob Zombie music video.
The hideous exhibitions of a dedicated gore horror was the first video,
Yeah.
which is like a bunch of different Frankenstein type characters throughout, but the main one, of course, is Sherry Moon Zombie.
Of course.
Yeah, so it's like a 2.5 minute song, and then that ends with a really abbreviated, very thriller-like choreographed Frankenstein dance featuring Sherry Moon Zombie and some other back. I mean, including the
Yeah,
like.
right. It
Yeah,
was
I
so
mean, it was.
cheesy.
Yeah, And then we went from that into what we're pretty sure is Get Your Boots On. That's the end of rock and roll, which was just a live, small gig, like a bar gig. Not like a big stadium show, kind of
Uh,
live shot of that. So
which to me, first of all, it reminds me I haven't been to a concert in a while because everybody, everybody in the crowd is holding up their phone, recording the event. And I looked at Livius and I said, "Is this a phone ad? What's going on?" Like,
yeah,
but
it
apparently,
was.
I'm guessing that's just how concerts really are now.
It really was weird, and I thought the same thing. Like, has it been that long since I've been at a rock show that I didn't realize this is what happened? So,
Yeah.
and then we get into the movie. So, for those not familiar, we're going to try to keep this spoiler free. We're going to talk a little bit about the plot. It is about a group of people who are carnival people, carnies,
Yeah, like their
or-
own traveling carnival show kind of thing.
and they're traveling to another gig or whatever, and they are abducted. I think I could say this without really being spoilery. They're abducted, and ultimately it's by a group of very rich people who are going to play a game with them. We're going to use them for sport.
Yeah. And it does say in the beginning of the movie, I think it takes place in like 1976,
Six on
76
Halloween.
on Halloween. And the, the sport Livius is referring to is called 31. Anybody who's seen the trailer for the movie will know essentially the basic structure of this movie is after being abducted, they're told that they have to survive 12 hours in this. I don't even know how to describe it, but like in the place that they've been kind of abducted to.
Hmm. Yeah, it's like a big giant factory, but it has weird circus attributes to it. I don't. It's
Yeah,
weird.
it's a weird, it's a weird setup. So, um, yeah, that's the way that we can talk about it without spoiling it.
Right.
Spoiling it.
Spoiling it. On my drive home, it occurred to me that this really felt like a little bit like a cross between the Devil's Reject. I'm sorry, not Devil's Rejects, House of a Thousand Corpses, and the movie 13 Ghosts.
I've never
Did you
seen
ever see
13.
13
No.
Ghosts? Okay, so from what I remember, because 13 Ghosts had to be out in like 2002. These people were in a haunted house and something happened, but they had to encounter different entities and kind of survive or whatever. So that's kind of what this is that there are different it says in some of the trailers, or at least some of the stuff I've read, clowns basically, but it's not like 20 clowns versus these five people. It's one clown or one group of, you know what I mean, like a team of clowns, and yeah, basically it's your standard kind of horror movie. Is some people are likely to die, and maybe there's a survivor towards the end, but it's really weird. And the other reason it reminded me of 13 Ghosts is kind of like the sets, right? So you, like I said, you're in this factory, but the next thing you're in like this, like they always found like the bedroom of the person that was kind of, so it's
Yeah.
like these weird different, I don't know.
I mean,
It,
this is something that I don't do very often, but it gave me a feel like almost like a video game, like you were exploring different areas of this place for each kind of new threat you were presented with.
that's a great way to put it too, because for someone who doesn't play video games, might not be familiar with this, but like different bosses.
Yeah,
You get through a level,
yeah,
and then you had to face like the boss at the end of the level, and that's kind of what this was. We can't say much more about it. It's another Sherry Moon zombie vehicle, which isn't a terrible thing, but it's very much in the style of every other Rob Zombie movie, in that it takes place in the 70s. I guess Lords of Salem probably wasn't in the 70s. That was a little more modern, right?
yeah.
So the Halloween 2 remakes, House of a Thousand Corpses, Devil's Rejects, and even goes so far as to mimic some of those movies in the, it starts out with like the grainy video of like the little group of friends all like dancing together and barbecuing and getting ready for work and doing all these things in that kind of Polaroid washed out style. So very, very similar in style. If you like stylistically those other movies, this is going to be along those lines.
So here's what I think the strengths of this movie are. Um, for anybody who is looking forward to violence, there's plenty of violence. It's got Rob Zombie does a great job of creating those really interesting, unique characters. So our group of carny people, we meet and we understand who they are kind of right at the beginning of the movie, but as time goes on, we're introduced to all these different kind of new challenges, and those characters are just intentionally very off the wall. So they're funny and entertaining, but they're also like just massively brutal. And so I think that was the real strength, was like, what's coming at me next?
Those characters just, yeah, I agree with what you said. They're all super quirky, and I don't want to say that they're likable, but you like that they're all quirky and kind of have their own definitive style. But the naming convention for all of them was like a 4-year-old named them. I mean, it was just, it
Yeah,
was laughable. It was so bad.
yeah,
So, yeah, violence, a lot of, and I don't know if this is a budget constraint, but it felt like there were a lot of kind of cutaway scenes during the action that maybe in a bigger budget film we would have seen a more fluid, kill scene versus like weird cutting in and out. And I think that might be a budget constraint, and I get that. I don't think it takes away from the story, but it did seem overt.
yeah. It was obvious. There was definitely, when there was some more complicated action with different weapons and stuff like that. It was a combination of shaky cam, kind of disorienting you, so you don't know exactly what's going on, or like Livius is saying, like some of this stuff was basically like the action was off camera. So that I was a little surprised by. It seemed like either they were going for a rating, or they didn't want to overstep, R to go to NC-17, or it was a budget situation. But it felt like there was less obvious in your face gore than what I would expect from a Rob Zombie movie.
There was one brilliant kill scene, and I'm not going to go into it, but you know what I'm talking about, right, Rob? Like we were both like, "This is great. This is amazing." And I think everybody in the theater thought the same thing. Yeah, I mean, it was what it was. It was a semi cheesy, horror movie. It's a Rob Zombie film.
Yeah, it was something that I didn't feel. So Livius and I identify on this, and we've talked about this in the past. Devil's Rejects got me in the feels in a way that I didn't expect from a horror film. This did not do that. This was very much like popcorny. I'm just here to have fun and see the violence and see the random nude women and whatever comes in a Rob Zombie movie. Which that was a little bit of a surprise. There was some
More than
serious full
yeah,
frontal nudity. Not,
yeah.
I mean, just little bits and pieces, but way more than I was expecting to see.
So we could talk about that for a second too, because I equate this movie a little bit more like House of a Thousand Corpses, although I don't think it was nearly as gritty
No, yeah,
as House of a Thousand Corpses was. But when you look at stylistically, there's even, and I don't think I'm spoiling anything. Towards the beginning, there's a character who's part of the friend group, who is having sex with this woman, and it takes me back to like Captain Spaulding in House of a Thousand Corpses having sex with, or I'm sorry, in The Devil's Rejects.
Rejects. Yeah,
You know what I mean? Even that scene seemed very reminiscent, and the bad jokes that are told throughout the movie, a lot of it harkened back to those early movies, which easily were his best in my opinion. I mean, he's never going to recreate House of a Thousand Corpses or the feeling that House of a Thousand Corpses had, or The Devil's Rejects. So
yeah. There were far fewer cheerleaders in cages, I want to say, than I was
right,
hoping
but there
for.
were cages. It just lacked the cheerlead. See what I mean? Like you had some of the components, but you didn't quite. Yeah, there's clown. Captain Spaulding was a clown. I mean, yeah.
It's all there. It all fits together.
Do you have anything remotely resembling a wrap up, and then we'll give this some stars like we do with books over at Booked.
Yeah. So here, I honestly, from the trailer that I saw, or trailers, and from what I read about this, I was expecting like Rob Zombie to like the next level as far as like being disturbing and scary and stuff like that. So I was really steeling myself against that so that I could get through it, because I'm kind of a wimp when it comes to some of the violence, or not violence, but like the more disturbing stuff. I can handle violence all day long, but like when it gets like weird and disturbing, that stuff sets me off. So I was expecting more of that than maybe we got. And so yeah, that was a little bit off from my expectation. Overall, I thought it was a really entertaining and fun movie. It was easy to watch, and it's one of those things where I won't have to get myself into a certain mood to watch it again. I turned to Livius at one point, I think halfway through the movie, and I said, I'm going to watch this every week because it's entertaining, and it's those individual like moments of like a quote that was said, or the way that some violence happened that was just really entertaining. And that's what this movie has, I think, more than anything is. It's just entertaining. He didn't try to make any kind of, you know, ambitious, uh, you know, thing happen in the movie that didn't work out, or anything like that. It's very obvious. It's a sporting kind of fun movie, and I dug it a lot. So if we're doing our 5-star scale, I'm gonna give it 5. I'm gonna go 5 stars on this.
Oh, all right. Rob summed it up because that's what I kept thinking was fun. And yeah, my expectation was far more House of a Thousand Corpses, gritty, disturbing, and again, based on the trailers and the premise of the movie. Now, there was a Q&A that we did not stay for afterwards, a recorded Q&A. But, Rob said it kind of wasn't, as ambitious. And it wasn't, because the first question was, what was the inspiration for this movie? And Rob Zombie says, well, I was working on this other movie for like 2 years, and that wasn't going real well. And I was on the phone with someone, and I was like, man, on this phone call, I can come up with a movie that'll sell and that we could make. And he's like, how about 5 people get kidnapped and they're tormented and chased and murdered by clowns? So there's your ambition, right? Like this is how he came up with this concept. So
Yeah.
no, not terribly ambitious. It was fun. That's the thing. It wasn't what I expected, and through points of the movie, especially through the first quarter of the movie, until I realized that I don't think he was. That I think that he got exactly what he wanted out of the movie, and it was my expectation that was different, because I was rolling my eyes a lot at this movie through the first third or so, until once I fell in the groove and said, all right, this isn't just bad acting that he's doing something a little campier. He's going for a little more fun and entertaining than kind of gritty and dark and disturbing. So after I adjusted my expectations, I did enjoy the rest of the movie a little more than I thought I was going to. We didn't talk about the ending. I just want to say that the ending was probably my favorite part. I think that it ended very, very well before the 28 minutes, which is a slight exaggeration, of 70s film footage of people dancing, and then the credits, which follow this van for 7 minutes or whatever it is, just driving down the road. But before that, I liked the ending quite a bit. I didn't like this movie as much as Rob did, though, so I'm not going to watch it every week, and I'm only going to give it 4 stars.
All right. One thing I will point out, after we left, a friend of ours stayed for the entire Q&A, and he texted me that at one point Rob Zombie was talking about clowns, and the quote was something about, Rob Zombie said something about how John Wayne Gacy had ruined clowns for everyone, and my response was, yeah, especially his victims.
Rob.
No? Too soon?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I guess we should say thanks for watching this. If you're a regular book listener, thanks for going over to the video medium and checking this out. If you're not a regular book listener, Rob and I do this weekly at bookpodcast.com. Also available on iTunes. Some of them are even available on YouTube. Somewhere over here, there are probably more. This could be really cool if I pulled this off. Over here.
You're probably backwards.
All right.
No,
over here.
Right. No, you're right.
Yeah. It's probably some more stuff, but yeah. Go check us out over at bookpodcast.com. And like I said, if you're a regular book listener, hey, thanks for checking us out.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for our review of Rob Zombie's movie 31, which you can find September 16th, right? In theaters, I believe?
Roundabouts, yeah.
I think it's the 16th.
Okay.
I'll probably put something up on the screen that tells it for sure if I'm wrong about that. Until next time, I'm Rob Olson.
And I'm Livia Snedden. Keep reading.